All right. First of all, really proud of our football team. It's a great team win. Give credit to Idaho State. I do think they're a good football team. I thought our guys played well tonight. And they did a really nice job of coming off a short week, a physical game against BYU, turning around. We probably had the best Tuesday practice that we've had this entire season. And I thought the energy this week was where it needed to be before we go out there and play and get back on the field. Probably the best thing for us was getting back on a short week and getting a chance to go out there and play. Defense, anytime you have a shutout, that's impressive, and that's hard to do no matter who you play. And I thought was really proud of our defense. I thought our offense showed some rhythm tonight and some consistency, which is what we've been talking about and much needed. I thought our run game showed itself being downhill and physical. And then I thought the quarterbacks, when Tommy came in and Brett came in, those guys both threw the ball very well. Don't know the status on Ryan Finley yet. I know he couldn't come back in the game, and so I don't know exactly what that means. We'll know more, and we'll talk about that in our on Sunday for our Monday press conference. We do have to turn around and play a Friday game. We'll travel a little bit earlier this week, but you know the bottom line, I think the most important thing that we were able to come out of this win with is the turnaround from a disappointment and then really finding that excitement to get back out there on the football field and erase all the negativity and go out there and just play, you know, is what we needed to do. And these guys did exactly that. There's still plenty to work on. Even when you win a game like this, it doesn't matter. You know, you go back, you still want to look at the film. You want to see what we have to improve on. And there's going to be plenty of that as well. So great overall team win. Excited for our guys. We have a 24-hour rule. We'll celebrate that, and then we'll move on tomorrow, and we'll be on to Virginia. And I've seen a little bit of Virginia when they played against Notre Dame. Obviously played them very well, and we know we're getting into another game with a very good football team on the road, and it'll be a Friday night. I think it's the first Friday night game they played. So the crowd I expect to be electric there. And one thing, I think we ran for over 300 yards. That's something that, you know, the run game has really been something we've tried to emphasize and we needed on the offensive side. So it was great to see that. And then I think our third down percentages were very good tonight. I don't know the total there, but I think third down was much better. And those were areas that we emphasized this week on the offensive side. And then on the defensive side, I think we did a nice job, fourth downs and third downs. You know, those are our money plays, and our guys got off the field. We created turnovers. Our defense created a turnover and went and scored on it. We didn't do that last week, and that was, I think, a major emphasis coming into this game. So really proud of our guys, excited, and ready to get moving on tomorrow on to Virginia. So with that, open up for questions.
I just asked you the other day, and you said you had a couple different plans for backup quarterback if you needed it. What went into the decision during the game to decide whether to put Brett out there, whether or not, trying to get information on what on what Finley's injury was? Yeah,
well, not knowing exactly the length that Finley's going to be out, knowing that when a guy doesn't come back into the game, we need to have a couple quarterbacks prepared, bottom line. And, you know, this was the kind of the situation. You know, we knew Tommy would go in, and he did exactly what we expected him to do. At the same time, we got to have a couple guys ready, and Brett has done a nice job. He has put himself in the position to play, and the decision was after halftime that we need to get him in there and play. He's ready to play. He's been ready to play. This isn't something that surprised him. We've talked about it each and every week, and at this point it was time to go. And I thought he went in there and showed what he's capable of doing, you know, with his first opportunity.
Tanner said that when you first saw Brett get here, if you told him he'd be playing by now, he said you're crazy. But the improvement that he's made, I guess, from when he first got here to now to put himself in this position, and then when he went in there, completes his first three passes, and really didn't seem to miss a beat.
No, I think the best thing that both quarterbacks did is they just operated. I think we ran Tommy just a little bit more, and that's some of Tommy's strength. I also think that was play selection. Those were things that we thought we could run and we wanted to get to them. But both guys, I thought, operated and made the throws that we expected them to make. They checked out of certain things. So they've both put themselves in a position through their prep, to go out there and have success. Now, we'll go back and watch and evaluate. I don't have an answer for you of what we're doing at this point. But, one of those guys, and probably both, are going to be ready to play. And then we'll make that decision. And I don't know if we'll play them both or not at this point, but that is to be determined.
How close was the quarterback battle near the end of fall camp? And I know you said you don't know exactly the extent of Finn's injury, but does your gut tell you that it obviously could be a little while?
Yeah, it does. I think my gut would say that without knowing, and I haven't had a chance to even sit down with him at this point, or his family, and so that's why I don't really want to comment too much until I can actually get face to face with them. But when guys don't come back in, you don't know, and again, the extent of it and how fast he heals, that's all to be determined. But that things happen, and this is where opportunity shows up, and with Tommy and with Brett, both those guys will take advantage of this situation and get themselves prepared and ready to play.
I'm not sure if you saw any of that Auburn-Jacksonville State game last week, but it's kind of an unexpected finish in that one.
Mm-hmm.
With everything that happened in the game tonight, the emotion of losing Ryan, and everything that happened last week, and with the big matchup coming up against Virginia, how hard was it not to overlook Idaho State this week?
To be honest with you, it wasn't really that hard. And I think if you watch the same tape that we watched in the first two games, there's a lot of things that I think we look at that we're trying to play at a certain standard. The ultimate goal is to win, but there's also a standard of how we want to play. Every guy wants to go out there and get the W, but they also want to see themselves improve. They want to make improvements, and that's really what we're shooting for. And there's plenty to work on going into this game. And I don't think that anybody was looking past or worried about, we're just trying to go out there and operate and really just be a better football team than we were the week before. And we did that tonight. And we'll have to do it again. And to me, it shouldn't change. After you win, your attention to detail shouldn't be any different than your attention to detail after you lose. And to me, that's really the key ingredient. Whether we do that remains to be seen, after this win. So, but if we can continue with that mentality, we can be a pretty good football team, and we can go out there and compete, which is really what the ultimate goal is. And if you do that long enough, you have a chance to win.
Before Ryan's injury, how much playing time did you see the other quarterbacks getting tonight?
Yeah, hard to say. You'd hope that those guys would have a chance to get in, and play, and you hope that's in a situation where you're winning. Alex Ogle got in there tonight. I singled out a couple guys. I think there was about 15 guys that got to play that were either true or redshirt freshmen. I mean, that was a great opportunity. And we're talking about the quarterbacks because that stands out the most, but those guys all got to play. And we're going to get a chance to watch them on film and see what they did, in real game situations. That's going to make us a better football team. So barring injury, depending on the game, what we were going to do. Now we're in that injury situation, and we made a decision tonight. I think you guys all saw that, and now we'll have to decide exactly what we're doing going into the Virginia game.
You talked about the scenarios and whatnot, and you guys had a plan for all of them. Was the intent to redshirt Brett Rippon this year, obviously, if everything kind of went as planned? And then, I believe the last time a true freshman quarterback played at Boise State was Tony Hildy in 1993. So it probably suggests that you're a rare breed and in a rare situation in order to get that call. Yeah.
Well, I think so. Perfect world, you'd love to redshirt all your quarterbacks, and we never felt like that was going to be the situation. I think had we gotten to game 6, 7, 8, then you got to make a decision that this is what we're doing from this point. But the first 5 games, at least, everybody's available. So I don't think Brett ever thought, this was going to be a redshirt year. until we made that decision. I addressed it with him, but I don't think he ever thought that. And Tommy's been competing. Alex Ogle's been competing. So now we got a situation where things have changed. And, until Finley's healthy again or what his injury and how long he's going to be out, we're going to have to play with a different guy.
I think it was 7-0 when he limped off there.
Yeah.
And how'd you just kind of see the team respond? I know Tommy just grabbed his helmet and ran right in, and just from the rest of the offense, the defense, I mean, it's going to be a little demoralizing when your starter goes off like that. How'd you see the rest of the team kind of respond?
Well, I thought they responded well. Our performance tonight on both sides of the ball, I thought was very good. Unfortunately, in the game, you got to move on to the next play because all the guys that are out there playing, you can't really think what's happened. It's now what do we have to do, and it's a different situation or scenario. And those guys, they feel when guys get injured, anybody gets dinged, you feel for those guys at the same time. They're not slowing the game down. You got to get out there and go operate. And so they rallied around each other. I think they understood the magnitude of what happened, and those are things that you talk about, that you try to prepare for, and you don't know exactly how you're going to be prepared for it until it actually happens. And it happened tonight, and those guys did a nice job of handling it.
One thing for those guys to do that at home against Idaho State, it's another thing in their one of them, first career start at Virginia in that situation. Yep. How difficult is this week going to be for those two guys?
I don't know. Maybe they're just crazy enough to not even think about it, and why not? I mean, go out there and attack it, right? That's really, I think what they did tonight, I think, at home or on the road, either way, when you get thrust in there and you have to play, I think when you see players at all positions, you can see emotion kind of take over, or you can see just operation happen. And I thought those guys did that. They weren't looking for anything, or I don't think the emotion got to them. They just operated. To me, that's exactly, at home or away, is what you need to do. And now we don't know if that's going to happen yet, but what you said, one of those guys are going to be out there for the first time on the road. We had that last week with Ryan. So, hopefully we've learned something as a team how to handle that, and we can help that quarterback be better prepared when we go play against Virginia.
Tommy comes in, you guys start running some read option, some quarterback sweeps and whatnot. Brett comes in, you run more no huddle. Is it difficult to kind of be game planning two different offenses right now, and what do you expect it to look like going forward?
Well, it wasn't really. We've been no huddle the whole time. That hasn't changed. We had a different play selection, and that really wasn't tailored to either guy. It was just some of the plays that Tommy ran. We ran them a couple times, and they weren't good. So we weren't going to run them with Brett. We have a game plan, and we're not going to go too far outside the game plan regardless of who's playing. They're preparing that plan all week long, and I think if you try to tailor too much, you're taking away all the options that you created throughout the week. So I think the rhythm improved, once Tommy got going, and Brett got in there too. I think our rhythm on offense improved. But, hey, those guys, they know how to play. They practiced. They're in new situations. I mean, I think the key tonight, besides the quarterback position, was how our defense played and keeping us in good field position. I think we had the one backed up for the most part, though. We had pretty good field position all night. And that, to me, regardless of who the quarterback is, from an offensive standpoint, that creates momentum in itself. And I think that was probably the key ingredient tonight.
You guys shuffled the offensive line just a little bit, and coming into this game, you guys had yet to really kind of break a long run. I don't think you guys had one of over 20 yards all season long, and tonight you had a few of them. On top of that, Jeremy continues to obviously impress with 3 more touchdowns tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a little moving on the O-line. That's the one thing. We're never set in stone. You guys have seen 3 games so far. We've seen quite a few practices, and you see guys, and then sometimes there's a different combination. And I thought tonight was putting Mario out of tackle and getting Travis back in the game. Travis has been a guy that played for us last year quite a bit, and we needed to get him back in the mix. I thought Jeremy, Demas, and Kelsey, we really started hitting the hole downhill and being physical. That showed up. And when you do that, I think you start to get into a little bit of a rhythm, and you understand, where it's going to pop, and that's what you saw tonight, why the explosive runs happen. Receivers are blocking downfield, tight ends are getting to the second level, O-line's creating or denting the defense, and we had more explosive runs, which is what we need. Those create the momentum, which in turn create the tempo that you're trying to get done on the offensive side.
Can you update the status of McNair and the guys that were out tonight? I think also Gabe Perez again, and
Yep.
also still Dean.
Yeah. McNair, he was dinged in practice. Had a little injury that didn't allow him to play. Don't know his status for next week yet, but he wasn't able to go tonight. Gabe's battling an injury as well right now, and wasn't able to go tonight. And then DJ Dean, hopefully get him back this week is the plan. Don't know if we're going to see, either Gabe or McNair this next week at this point. DJ, we do expect back.
Okay. Going into this week, with the limited amount of reps you can get, do you have to pick one of these guys and kind of focus on him this week, or can you let them compete and split the reps up all week?
Yeah, we're not going to be able to go 50-50 all week long. Now, let me say this. These guys have gotten quite a few reps in practice and in fall camp, so it's not like we have to get somebody that hasn't taken a bunch of reps, and we're going to keep running the plays that they know and that they've executed well. But yeah, we're not going to, we're going to get somebody out there and get them going. Tonight will help, when we get a chance, or tomorrow morning we get a chance to watch the film. And, we've had a plan for this situation. I think you saw both guys, and, that helps us too create exactly what we want to do offensively with whoever that quarterback is. But that remains to be seen at this point.
That's kind of my question, but just we'll go with this one, I guess, and it's just the feel to the season so far. We're sitting here talking to you on Sunday or Monday or whatever it was, and you're talking about Ryan Finley making his debut against Washington and going on the road against BYU, and then you kind of get to a game where you might get a rhythm, and he gets in a rhythm, and then he gets injured, and now you're going to be starting another new quarterback on the road at Virginia.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a.
Is there a question in there?
Because it just seems like a lot.
That's a story.
Yeah.
That's football. You know what? That's football. There's a lot of good players on this team, and unfortunately, injuries create opportunities. So somebody's going to get a chance to go out there and play against Virginia. We're not. We're going to rally around whoever that is. We're going to play great defense. We're going to play great special teams, and we're going to figure out on offense how to go out there and score points, which is what we did tonight. So regardless of that, it is what it is. We'll rally around our teammates and guys that are injured, and Ryan's not the only one. But, that's part of the game, and that's why guys prepare and get themselves in a position that if something happens, they're ready. And I think tonight I was very pleased with the way everybody responded to the situation. And you know what? Hopefully that creates confidence. We did something that we were hoping it wouldn't happen, and it did, and everybody responded, all three phases. So that should give us confidence moving forward.
I know there was a little bit of talk among the coaches that coming into this week that maybe the defense was talking a little more than they should out on the field, and some of that stuff seemed like a little more business-like approach out there on the field. Was that an emphasis with those guys tonight to kind of just go out and play? Yeah,
that's an emphasis with our whole team. That starts with me, but that's all we need to be doing when we walk on the football field is just play. We're out there to win. We're out there playing to win, and that's all that matters. And I think, we understand that football is emotional. At the same time, it's very thought out and planned, and the only guys that matter are the other 10 after you make a play that are on your team. And that's how we addressed it this week.
Thanks, Harsin.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman.
Thanks, Harsin.
Thank you.